Council, if we get those lights green, we are 1 minute away from start.
What's happening, young man? How are you?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
3, 4, 5. I don't think so. I don't know. Mine doesn't.
Well, that clock has struck 30. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome all of those here in chambers and tuning in via our broadcast options to our City Council study session this Monday, December 8th at 5:30 p.m. And with that, Clerk Tomasic, please call roll.
Shoemate,
Here.
Bosmer,
Here.
Cox,
Here.
Dill,
Here.
LaPointe,
Here.
McNabb,
Here.
Molnar.
With this study session, one important point is, by definition, there will be no action taken, including even a motion to excuse an absent member. But what I want to frame before we get to public comment is a couple thoughts. This evening, we will focus on the Horse Island strategy for the bridge. Great to see so many members of public. And just to kind of frame everybody's mind from a reference point of view, I'll speak to my personal experience in the matter. Upon taking office in November of 2023, we recognized that this project was in flight, and we wanted to apply really two principles with that administration on this matter. One is data-informed decision-making and pathway driving. Two, in line with that, leveraging experts to help drive the data generation and decision guidance. And three, make sure that we transparently communicate every step of the way and provide opportunities for our residents and our broader experts across the community to weigh in on the matter. So a couple things that I wanted to highlight just as we look at that journey from November 23 and beyond. One was our administration, many of my peers sitting next to me, had established a Horse Island Bridge Committee. And the goal was to have a defined group of individuals, both elected and broader experts and residents, that could sit down together on a cadence to interpret and decipher information related to this matter. So I wanted to call out that that happened. Number two, as we took inventory on the matter, we wanted to make sure we had the right data-informed pathway. And so we, as an administration, engaged in a partnership through the process with Collins Engineering. And that allowed to make sure we had an opportunity to robustly inspect the bridge, provide all relevant data around that inspection and the current state and the load considerations, have an understanding of the grant and the MDOT communication pathways and requirements. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Most recently, on July 28th, we had Collins Engineering come for a public hearing. And for those that weren't able to be there, all of our meetings are recorded and available. But that had an opportunity to give us an update on what Collins Engineering had progressed from an inspection and data generation perspective and started to materialize different pathway considerations. So I want to thank Collins Engineering for featuring a presentation and information sharing session. I want to thank the public, both in person at that time as well as through emails or other commentary means, for providing their input. And so then ultimately, here we are today, which is we want to have a study session. Collins Engineering is here. Our city administrator has been coordinating with our administration and our department heads to make sure we assembled the pertinent information. It's great to see the members of the community because we want to hear your voice on this matter. I am personally a resident of Horse Island. This has real-world implications to our pathway in front of us for our residents and our broader community. And so I want to make sure everybody had that background before we get started. Rachel, any other parties have any open commentary before we get to public comment?
So one thing I'll add is that not only are no decisions being made tonight, but no decisions on the pathway forward in regards to whether it's rehabilitation, what type of rehabilitation, or a reconstruction will be made until after there's a robust public comment period, and our Collins Engineering team will be leading that session. So the goal of tonight for us as an administration is to all be brought up to the same page with our engineering firm about where we are now, where we need to go, and the fiscal impact it's going to have on us with Collins Engineering. So they have 3 amendments. They are all included in your packets tonight. Amendment 2 has to do with Horse Island Bridge, and just to highlight that this is in not to exceed amount. It is essentially a budget that has been prepared with all the various components included. They will not charge us for more than what they're doing for it, so we hope we do not reach that amount, but it is certainly a do not exceed. The second 2 amendments, Amendments 3 and 4 to the original contract, are for the Young Street Bridge. So I am looking forward to allowing Phil Razor from Collins Engineering to walk all of us up here on the dais as well as the public through this information. But I want everyone to be aware of that.
Absolutely, and we have public comment that we are going to start with now, unless there's any other comments from the administration.
Make a motion to see Councilman Molnar at 5:35.
We will take record of it, but no motions due to the study session.
Sorry, thank
No,
you.
you're fine.
Okay, thank you.
So you're gonna have public comments first? and
Yes,
then-
we're gonna have public
Sorry.
comments, and then we'll welcome you up. So I want to make sure you had a frame of reference for the discussion this evening and some of the steps that led up to how we got to this evening. And with that, what a perfect segue to public comment. So to the members of public that are here in attendance, if you have any comment for council or this administration or Phil from our engineering partnership, please approach that podium, state your name and address, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
It's nice to be on this side.
Welcome.
Dorothy Wood, 30126 Adams, and I am the city's historian. And of course, everybody knows how I feel about the Horse Island Bridge, and I hope that these are, the information given tonight kind of gets us into keeping the bridge. And I know a lot of the Horse Island residents feel the same way. So I just wanted to start with that because I've worked very closely with Phil, and he's a pretty good guy, and I hope that he's staying on my side, our side. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional members of public that wish to address council? Keep in mind, you will have another opportunity to do so before we adjourn, but I want to make sure you had the opportunity up front as well. Any additional public comment? All right, well, oh, please, Jane.
A little bit surprised that we would be discussing this because the significance of that bridge to me reflects what happened years ago here. And I support the bridge and the continuation in which it functions now. And I don't really know how creative you would do something as significant as it stands now. Just a picture of our history. Why would we want to do anything about the destruction? Maybe making it better and reinforce it, but not destroy it, because that's the U.S. history in action. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 30952 Island Drive.
Thank you so
It's
much, Jane.
Jane, M-A-C-K-E-Y.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Years ago, I used to work at Greenfield Village, so I really am open to aged things, especially when it comes to me.
Thank you so much, Jane. Are there any additional members of the public that wish to address council up front? If not, we will have another public comment before we adjourn.
My name is Jerry Pertinen. I live at 31022 Island Drive, and I echo the comments that Jane just made. I am very much for keeping the bridge. I've lived there 21 years at that residence, and I've really enjoyed coming over that bridge many times, and especially in the summertime, even though I know a lot of people are concerned about kids jumping off the bridge and that type of thing, but I think it is part of our community, and I really enjoy that. The only concern that I have with the bridge is that it is structurally sound, and that the trucks and things of that nature need to be really looked at. This summer, I saw several trucks come over that are big semis, and I have no idea how they turned around because I had to leave. But I did hear that one of them hit the bridge and that type of thing. So I think that's very important that we look at the structure and we look at the maintenance of, or not the maintenance, but making sure that trucks and heavy loads aren't going on the bridge once we figure out what the structure is. So I'm for keeping the bridge.
Thank you so much, Jerry, and shout out to Chief Bullard and his department on enforcement of tonnage requirements related to bridge passing. So thank you, Chief. Any additional comments for our council before we go ahead and get started? All right, well, we'll close our opening public comment. Again, keep in mind that you'll have another chance to comment before we adjourn today. And with that, I would love to invite Phil up. Phil, just for the sake, I know some people know you well now since you've been here many times, but maybe give a proper introduction, any commentary you'd like, and then we'll dive into the session today.
Mr. Mayor, Phil Fraser with Collins Engineers. My training is a bridge engineer. I have worked on bridges over 40 years in my career. I have worked on several historical structures, some that we rehabbed, some that we tore down but put back ones that were reminiscent, but always working with the community. So once I get this up and running, there is some information here, but the first thing is when we are, you have
And Phil, just make sure that mic is green and speak to it if you could. Thank you.
There it is, okay. So one of the keys for federal funds, which is what essentially is coming from MDOT, is that there is a very set process that unfortunately, probably initially when the grant was achieved for the city, the MDOT just assumed that you knew that there is a process for working on historic bridges. You can rehab them, you can replace them. It just depends on the significance of the bridge, what the community wants, and what's the most feasible for engineering and cost and everything else. And so all of that works together. And because I've been in several of these meetings, I do have some examples to show you how we can strengthen the bridge while retaining the bridge and not changing how it looks. These are proven examples. A colleague of mine has done a couple of these in Minnesota. And so when I run through them, keep in mind it's more for showing how it can be done, not showing what's going to be done. Because the biggest part of any of this categorical exclusion, which is the type of document that we have to get before we can proceed to final design and construction, we can't go in saying we already know what we're going to do. We come in with different options. One is always, we do nothing. Now that would mean that you wouldn't have the MDOT funds for working on the bridge, but that's always an option. Then there's always a replacement option, which is what the grant was originally for, even though there's a little bit miscommunication because council made it clear they wanted it rehabbed, not replaced. And then there basically, we know of two really strong options that can strengthen the bridge while keeping the existing structure intact. There's some change to it, but it's really not very noticeable. But it'll take full legal loads, and so, and due to the low volume of traffic that accesses the island, the fact that it's not a two-lane bridge, which would typically be what MDOT would want to see, but the vehicle count is so low, and you've been treating it as a one-way bridge, one-lane bridge for Okay,
1925.
exactly. So since you've already been doing it, MDOT would probably give you the waiver for that so that you would not have to widen the bridge. So you would keep the bridge the same width, we would increase the strength, essentially retain the character as an option to be presented for the community to be involved with. You know, what I have here is kind of a synopsis of everything that we've done. You know, it was built, we had records showing it was being constructed in 1928. It was declared historically eligible. It's not on the Historical Register of Places, but SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, declared it historically eligible in 1992. So that's, apparently I have to keep tapping it or it's going to go off.
And Phil, just to make sure that everybody can hear you effectively, just want to check. Can everybody hear Phil okay? Yep. Just as much as possible, lean into that mic, but I know you got to present
Okay,
too, so
all
hybrid.
right, yeah,
Thank you, sir.
I apologize.
Thank you.
So, you know, and in '83, from reading the records and working with administration staff, the bridge was posted for loads, even though at the time they really didn't have a load rating. It was more posting, as you said, how these big vehicles getting on the island, there's nowhere to turn around. Subsequent to that, you know, we've had that posted for the low loads, which is why you have to inspect it every 12 months. You know, we have gone through and done our recent investigation, recent load rating, which resulted in it being, actually, the loads are accurate. The good thing about it being a Luton Bridge is he was very creative with his design, but he didn't design with overcapacity, so that with some of the age, with some of what he did, and the newer analytical methods, comes out to be that the 8, 12, and 16 tons is an accurate load rating for it. All right, so let me get this rolling. I'm going to get to the talking part so we can run the video for you. So the current status is you do have the funding, but you were supposed to start in construction in fall of 2024. That's when the funding started. But at the time, you had no plans, and it had not been conveyed to council that they needed to also go through the historic eligible bridge process, which is one of the things that we're talking about with our Second Amendment. There is a process. I know the budget is big, but what we try to do is cover everything. Because unlike MDOT, where if they miss something, they just go, okay, we'll give you an amendment for $3 million or something. You know, that's just not most communities. So we tried to make sure we had it all covered in there. MDOT's very aware of this project. SHPO is very aware of this project. They're very eager to see what can be done to retain it, at the same time while making it safe, because as you know, it's the only way on and off the island. One of these days, one of those trucks is going to hit it just wrong. That could be a real problem. So where we are is we need to work through the options with everybody. We need to look at the cultural resources, which is the historic nature. If there's any extending conditions like asbestos in the concrete, or if there's been any hazard spill. I know it was a canoe livery there, right? That was where the park is. There's like a canoe.
Can anybody speak to the,
Okay, but no gas stations, right?
No.
Okay.
just
so-
for the audience, there's no gas stations is the comment, but a bait shop historically.
Okay, so that way there should be no, you know, environmental contamination. The other thing that typically we would run into is the possible of endangered mussel species. But since most of the options would have very little work below the water line, that really should be a minimal issue as we go through the consideration. So really, the big steps are to go through the process of coming up with options, getting public input, doing about 20% engineering on each option so we can demonstrate to MDOT that whatever option we're presenting will qualify for their funding if that's the way to go. If there's a different decision, the funding means we have to get to legal loads. We can still keep it narrow, we can still keep it like that, but we have to be able to take full legal loads so that there's no issue. I tend to write a lot, I apologize. So typically, as I mentioned earlier, we have the no-build option. We do nothing, but that would lead to the forfeiture of the funds. There is the replacement option, which is what was submitted, but just a brief sampling of community input, that's not the preferred option. So then there is the reconstruction rehabilitation, which are strengthening options that provide very little what they call adverse impacts. It really doesn't change the overall nature of the structure. When you look at it, it will look pretty much as you see it now, but it will be able to take full legal loads. And so that, the engineering's presented with all the other environmental documents into a checklist. And, you know, I don't know if you've heard, but, you know, there's environmental impact statements, which take forever, environmental assessments, which are not quite as inclusive, but they're still very 2 or 3 year long projects. This one we see as being a categorical exclusion, probably a level 3, which is pretty much checklists, providing answers, getting public input, and then working with SHPO to come up with an agreement, memo of understanding, with the city, with MDOT, with SHPO on what you're gonna, which selection the city administration decides to go with, and then we move forward with then turning in the plans, letting a bid, and moving forward. So right now, it's taking about 9 months to get to a categorical exclusion. So the sooner we can get started, the better, again, with the understanding if we want to keep the MDOT funding.
Absolutely.
The other option on the funding is you can resubmit for maintenance funds, which would do things to the bridge, but without increasing the load rating. But again, you're going to be competing with a lot of folks for that. So, that's pretty much it. Before I go to the PowerPoint, or the video presentation, which shows an option where we slide the bridge under, are there any questions?
I know there's questions from the public. Public, we're gonna have to wait till a public comment if that's okay. So this is
for
just now
council-
questions or comments from our administration?
What about historic funds? What
I'm
about
sorry?
historic grants based on this bridge?
We have talked with them. Usually, the harder part is finding enough to get it to, a lot of times they're all for construction dollars. And we've talked with them. We did start some initial conversations, but at the time, because you still had the MDOT one, it didn't move forward, but we have the contacts. We have talked with the people from MDOT's historical preservation group within there. They would be interested in talking, but again, that's a competitive process. But there is a possibility.
Would that alter the requirements if that funding was to be granted? Does that alter
Yes, you would not necessarily have to go to full legal loads.
the criteria could be amended, if you will?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, Kathy?
I just need a clarification. It looks, I don't know, the page doesn't remember, but I think it's page 3 under the reconstruction rehab that you talked about. So I thought I heard you say that we have to make it so we can do full load capacity. But this says there might be possible exceptions because of the low volume?
That's for, I'm sorry, I should have been a little more clear. That's for the width, because right now, you aren't wide enough for 2 lanes of traffic. And typically, MDOT would want you to have full legal loads and 2 lanes of traffic on a bridge. They would want you to have 24 feet, and we're at just under 20 feet curb to curb. So, but because the volume of traffic is so low, they would likely give you, we've talked with them, they would likely grant an exception for that. And because,
The width, not the load.
yes, I'm sorry. And because you've been treating it as a 1-lane bridge for
Got it.
1745, it'll be fine. So, okay. I'm sorry, I skipped over that pretty quick.
It did, thank you very
No,
much.
and it's really important, Phil, especially because some of the members up here have been a part of previous discussions, but some are newly sworn in as of the 24th. So one objective is to make sure we're all operating on the same song script.
Absolutely, Mayor. I didn't want to bore everyone to death, and I'm an engineer. We like to do the numbers. We don't like to talk. I apologize, so.
No, I just really appreciate the direct consideration, not only from the history of where we came from, but ultimately the pathway options we have. And I find comfort in knowing that rehabilitation to maintain the existing structural considerations while making it more structurally sound, to bring it to legal load capacity according to the MDOT is a pathway, and that excites me a lot. But we'll get you to the presentation.
Okay, absolutely. So this is, let me go back. So this is a background. So a colleague of mine who I worked with 30 years ago has a firm that we've been working with who's out of Minneapolis. And when I was up visiting with him earlier this year, we were talking about this project because I know he does some really unique stuff, especially for the city of Minneapolis and for St. Paul. And he said, well, I just did something kind of like that. And I said, can you send me a video? So I've been talking with him. So there's no narration. It's all visual and text. But this is a historic bridge. Now, this one was done all private funds, which was, I think, $1.5 or $2 million. But it was Friends of this park. But it's a sample of how to they did the slide-in of the strengthening panels underneath the arch, and then they redid the outside of it. Ignore the fact that the outside is redone in stone. Like I said, that's not what this structure is here, but it's a good example of how it actually can be done, which is what gives MDOT great confidence that what you're doing is going to strengthen it and do that. So I'll go ahead and start this. And it was a little bit bigger. I think it was an 80-foot span. So it'll have kind of these graphics, and then it'll have actual construction photographs. So they took the barriers off. This was a spandrel arch, which is a little different than ours. It was not an earthen filled.
Oh, this could be good.
So this is the fixing the abutments to take these concrete inserts, and then they'll show a picture of the actual construction. So here's where they're bumping it out, and there's the old arch, as you could see. And then they had these precast arch panels that they installed underneath. So they're like 4-foot wide segments. Now, because this one does not, the railings would probably be redone on this bridge. We would just use new concrete, but we would make them look just like with the recess inserts, just like the old ones. Now here they removed the exterior walls, which had been added 20 or some years after the bridge was constructed, because originally it was an open, you could see through it. And we don't have a concrete deck on this. This is just paved asphalt, so we would not have, we would redo the asphalt over it in the. And then they grout the spaces. There's a little gap between the existing arch and those panels. You can see that there, and we insert grout in there, and then that way the panels take the full load now instead of the old arch. And so they put the new spandrel walls on. And again, we would not have an existing deck. We would remove the asphalt and fill material and put in probably lighter weight fill also. Again, we would put a new crash safety barrier on top. And then this one had the decorative stone arches put up. And we would keep, the alignment would remain unchanged as it is out there. There's just really no room for it. And so that was the rendering of the final look, and there's the final bridge. It's all strengthened and back in place.
What was the pipe for there?
I'm sorry?
What was the pipe for, the linear pipe?
Water line that was in the roadway.
Oh,
So I don't think we have any utilities on this structure, correct?
not above deck.
Well, Phil, thank you. That's a very informative video, just as a case study example, comparison, obviously not directly applicable, but gives us a thought process on how we could approach.
But see, as you see with that one, so the other option we're thinking about is a concrete saddle that we would pour over top, but we'd have to remove everything, pour it over top of the existing. The problem with that is due to the thickness is 9 to 12 inches, we'd have to raise the roadway a little bit and kind of chase it back. And again, we'd have to remove the barriers and put new ones on there to match up with that. But, so there are two options that would essentially retain the look, retain the bridge, retain the look, and meet the load rating.
Thank you so much. Treasurer Riser, you have a question?
If you went and did the underneath support, how much of the overhead?
Probably about 6 inches.
Lower
Those,
it to even lower bridge. Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for the clarification there.
Yeah,
Any other
there-
questions, council?
The approach, you're gonna have to change the approach quite a bit. You're showing us a bridge with a real flat approach, straight across. The Horse Island Bridge has got an arc. When you
Correct.
Pull up to that bridge, you go right over it. To
Right.
get what you're looking for here, you're gonna have to change the approach of the bridge quite a bit to get that, what you're
No,
looking
no,
for.
the underneath arch follows the arch profile, so we would not be changing
Okay, so
the
you.
profile. If we did the concrete saddle, again, that would follow the profile, but the whole profile would move up about a foot, and then we just follow that same thing. We'd follow that same thing. We're not looking at flattening it out. I mean, those are easier options to do.
Well,
That just
yeah.
don't work for that one.
Okay.
Correct.
And of those two options, is there an opportunity to raise it a little bit, to give us more clearance instead of less? Excuse me. I don't know if you could hear me, but
I can hear you, yes. The only way to do that would be to get rid of the arch and then put a new higher arch bridge in there, which, if you were going with a new replacement that would look just like it, you could increase the arch a bit to give you more clearance. But then again, we're going to be chasing it back on the slope. But, with stronger materials that we have now, it's possible that you could raise the arch, thin down the overburden that's on it, and keep the same profile if that was really critical, and that's what the community wanted to do.
Very helpful.
thank you.
I
just-
apologize if I went too fast, so please.
No, it's very great. Just to summarize a couple points there. One is with the rehab options you've highlighted, right, in concept.
Yeah.
In one scenario, you could create 6-inch increase or decrease in clearance from water to below the bridge. But generally speaking, to Councilman McNabb's question, the approach will remain the same, meaning the ways it connects to the streets on and off would remain the
Right,
same.
nothing would be raised that much. If it's raised, it's going to be raised uniformly all the way along it, so.
That's great. Thank you, Councilwoman LaPointe.
I feel silly even asking this.
No,
How are
please.
people gonna get on and off the island when the bridge is under construction?
Well, we have a helicopter.
Oh, good. I was gonna, or a big boat, or,
A very practical
could be
discussion.
Harson's Island.
So we have talked to, I don't know where you've driven within the state under construction, but they're Bailey bridges. They're truss bridges that you drive through, would be built alongside
Okay.
that one. And it would be, the two touchdown spots would be just south of the bridge.
Okay.
It'll be a one-lane bridge. It's about 120 feet long. It'll be temporary. And as you can see, with some of the work can be done underneath it while the bridge is still under traffic. So ideally, we'd put that in last, get to the point where everything's done that can be done. And ideally, we'd like to keep that to less than 6 months, just because you're landing in a park. And the feds don't really like us doing stuff in a park for any really long time.
Yeah.
Now, one of the benefits of the park is if anything's determined to be an adverse impact by SHPO, even if, you do the one that I showed there or the others, the park's a great place to put up a couple boards that talk about what you did, how this bridge, the history of the bridge. That's a really great place to put the interpretive things that they like to see if you're going to do any kind of changing to the structure. I did one 20 years ago in downtown Dayton that was the Veterans Memorial Bridge, and so it had all the wars up to the Great War, big monuments on either corner of the bridge. We put they didn't want arch bridges, it's a cable straight bridge. But we took the monuments and preserved them from each corner and moved them to a place right there in downtown on a park as an interpretive as part of the memorandum of understanding.
That's really cool. Treasurer Reiser?
One more question on the approaches. And has there been any thought to actually raising those up so the actual top of the arch is not so bad? Because we've had trucks that actually got stuck on the arch because it is so steep. I mean, it doesn't change the look of the profile of the bridge, but it could change the way a truck could go over it without getting stuck.
Oh, you mean to level up the road?
Yeah, flatten it out.
The hard part of that is staying within the right-of-way. Like, you've got some room on the west side, but the east side, you're right up against properties that, anything can be done for money. It's just how much, we have to put retaining walls and type of things, but
But if you put
that can be looked at,
over
yes.
arch over, you have to do that anyway.
Correct.
Oh, I'm saying it, so.
Yeah, all of those would be the,
Anyway, so, saying, you flatten it out some.
Yep.
yes,
I
absolutely.
know we've had trucks get stuck on it a couple times.
I saw the picture of the truck, and it's one of those
Yeah,
rigs that has the really low tires.
Right.
Like, why do you have a low rate?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I know, yeah. But it
yes,
happens.
absolutely.
Well, just in the interest of time, I want to make sure we check in. So on the history and on the conceptual pathways that have been informed by the progression of Collins and using case study examples, are there any more questions from our council before we can maybe segue our discussion to considerations for the path forward? Keeping in mind, there's no action today, but I know that was a part of the education discussion.
Yes.
Right.
Rachel, Phil, do you want us to take us to that discussion?
Oh, and just one last to reinforce that while I showed examples, nothing has been designed, put down, or said this is what we are. Those are just to give information to the council and to the public that there are options that will make sure I stay on Dot's Christmas list to be considered by everybody.
Yep.
So,
Really appreciate that optionality.
okay, thank you.
Bill, before you go, if you wouldn't mind walking us through the amendments, just so council can ask you any questions they may have. Sorry.
And then as we're setting that up, City Administrator Witherspoon, you will have this as for council's consideration formally on the 15th of December, correct?
Yes, I will.
So today's education purposes for your discussion or questions and clarification.
Yep, and if any additional questions or concerns are brought up, please let me know in advance of next Monday's meeting so I can get with Phil and hopefully get an answer as well.
Just make sure that light's still green for us.
Yes, it is.
All
Yes, it
right.
is, if I just get here. So, so the amendment, the budget comes to just under 730,000. There's about, the cultural, ecological, and environmental, which is usually a lot higher, but because it's already been declared historically eligible, it's roughly 160,000, and 50,000 of that is for possible muscle relocation. So if an option is picked that doesn't involve that, that goes away. But we have to make sure that's covered because
And I want to be clear, that goes back to Rachel's earlier point, which is the not to exceed amount.
That is correct.
Encompasses items. Those items, line items, will be determined by the pathway, and some of those may fall off.
Correct. I'm talking just the gross, but you have individual items and an actual, the proposal has those individual items in there. Public involvement meetings, it can be as much as 30,000, depending on how many meetings we have, the documents we're going to present, doing some renderings and that type of thing.
And maybe just a little color there. Talk to me about, like, generally speaking, how those public involvement meetings would go.
Typically, it's an open house format where we send out formal notices, to the community and other stakeholders, emergency services, everyone, because it impacts them as well as all of a sudden we have a temporary bridge that's going in. Will it be enough to get heavy vehicles across, that type of thing? So we may have one or two of those. And then it's very, like I said, it's an open house format, but we do a little bit of presentation, and then everybody has input, lots of forms. Modern world will have an online survey so people can get their input so that we can tally it and take a good gauge of what everybody's looking for.
That's fantastic. And then just a general question as you're going through this, is there anything in this line item list or proposal that is abnormal? Or as your 40 years of experience tells you, are a lot of these just based on requirements and pathway considerations? I'm just kind of asking that generally speaking.
No, other than because of the uniqueness of a couple of the engineering ones.
Okay,
The engineering is a little bit higher, but that's because
just the unique nature of the bridge itself.
it's not, we're going to go clear it out and come back with something.
But these line items are put forth because they're part of the process.
That is correct.
in your
That is
professional-
correct.
Okay, great, thanks.
And unfortunately, we have to come up with, the no build, the replacement, and then basically a couple of the reconstruction options, and they all have to be 20% to give to MDOT,
So it's a
and we've
part of the,
negotiated down from 30%, so.
so it's a part of the grant requirements for those pathway considerations to be explored up to 20%, which was negotiated down
Yes.
from 30% to give us the informed decision-making pathway.
That is correct,
Cool.
because MDOT wants to know that you didn't say, we're going to make it this, and then
Makes
all of a
sense.
sudden you get there and you go, well, we thought.
Awesome.
And again, our commitment, been very committed to this project. Spent a lot of time because it's a fun project. I really enjoy it. Was to try and, I know it's a big number, but was try and give you the budget so that all of a sudden SHPO says this and MDOT says this, and then we come back, and I don't want to come back and ask for anything.
Yep. Just a couple comments. I think going back to the opening statement, right? Just, I want to thank Collins and you specifically, Philip, for your partnership. I think data-informed decision pathways has helped us get to this point, and obviously this pending council's review and approval would help us continue that pathway to build out our options, inform what those options would entail, pros and cons of them, so we can make a more informed decision. And I love that it has the communication and public engagement element of it every step of the way. So, Council, the floor is yours. If you have any questions, clarifications, obviously you can hit those live today, or as Rachel mentioned, just make sure you get her offline if you need time to digest, so that we can get those answers from Phil before we get to our 15th meeting. Any questions, reactions, comments?
Can we talk after he leaves, before our council meeting? I do have questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
About the budget. So
Yeah.
we're getting 2.5 million from MDOT,
2.9,
2.9 million.
2.9. And is that going to cover everything?
just construction,
Just the construction?
correct.
Okay, so break it down for me. Like, it would help to have the financials on a sheet, maybe.
And that'd be a great, that's,
Like, I
that's,
have no
let's
idea
take
what
that as an
city
action.
responsibility is.
Let's take that as a follow-up, because
Okay, good,
Councilwoman
fair enough.
LaPointe, you are
Yep,
spot on, which
but I need
is.
that before December 15th.
Finance Director McEwen has been working closely to understand our city approach to the financial element, meaning the money we're putting away with an unknown trajectory, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the grant, 2.9. So Phil, I know you had something you want to say.
Well, I was going to say, I've sent a lot of memos with breakdowns and stuff. I will reconsolidate it, send it to Rachel for distribution to you, so you'll understand what's coming from MDOT, what you're required to do, where we are.
Thank you.
So,
And that'll be very helpful, and to make sure council has all of that well before the 15th. So
Yeah.
Councilwoman LaPointe, you're on point.
Yeah,
It's also a 95.5 grant, right?
yes,
Yeah,
that is
correct.
correct.
95%.
Correct.
That is correct. That is correct.
Thank
Any other questions before Phil departs? If not, well, you can let Phil depart, and then we can have a discussion with council, and then we'll open up for public comment.
Do you need me to remain for the questions from the public?
It might be
before I go?
helpful if you don't mind, but feel
Not a
free to step
problem.
out if you got any phone calls you need to make, or you take a seat, whatever works for you.
I'm good.
Council, any discussion you all would like to have on this matter beyond what we've covered today? Okay, well, I guess then, while we're not taking any formal action today, I guess just make sure you're thinking about the information that was shared, that I think Rachel can obviously work to coordinate follow-up on the financial breakdowns. Finance Director McEwen can obviously weigh in, as she's already been a deeply part of this pathway. Any other discussion we want to have, council? Okay, please.
Well, we didn't talk about Young Drive Bridge. So I just need more information, like, why are we looking at Young Drive? Is it, I don't even understand that.
Well,
Sorry.
it's great, Philip's still here.
I thought
so-
we were gonna go over that too.
Philip, do you want to cover the, I know
That's-
that was a part of the, just a reference point. That was a part of the
No,
public
that's fine.
hearing on July 28th, but
And I will
Philip,
watch
please,
it.
please.
I wish I would have known that earlier.
So,
Sorry.
that bridge was replaced in the early 90s, I believe, as part of, MDOT's LAP program. But from looking at the plans, talking with people from MDOT back at that time, MDOT came out and said, on box beam bridges, we want 6-inch monolithic slab poured on across. Okay. However, the box beam design they used was not for a 6-inch monolithic slab on top. So as constructed, it was already at only 2/3 of load capacity. So it was brought up by previous members of council, and that, well, why did MDOT let them do that? We don't know. But the problem is the bridge was, as constructed, based on the design, it wasn't done right.
So did anybody determine if that's the person that designed it or the construction people? Like who's?
No, this would have been
involved?
the designer.
I'm sorry?
the designer.
design, and that's fact?
Yeah, we uncovered this, obviously, in the broader inventory we were taking, for which, to Philip's point, let's not beat around the bush, it was not properly done, as
I
you
mean,
described.
they designed tiebacks to hold the abutment back, which we don't ever do, because how long is a 1.5-inch steel rod buried underground with the water table right there gonna last? It's not a firm I don't even know if they're in business anymore. It's not a firm I
And let me
recognize.
be clear, right? I think it's very important, Philip, we do annual bridge inspections, obviously, across all of our bridges. So I want to reassure our community
agree.
this bridge is safe and sound. It's just a matter of, from an investment at that point in time, it was not optimally executed, and therefore, other life cycle or structural considerations need to be revisited, right? You didn't get the best bang for your buck in that investment historically,
Yes.
but it does not.
If we didn't get what we paid for, then if they still are in business, there may be an avenue then to look at that.
Well, it's
For
a matter
liability
for-
or responsibility, or, I mean, why should we pay if we already paid and it wasn't done right and it's not our fault?
I will defer to our city attorney on that matter, but yes, I don't disagree with your thought process.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think that it doesn't matter if they're in business or not. If they were insured, there's probably a tail fund liability that we can pursue.
Okay, good.
And those are things that if Anthony's not sure about, I could probably show him that avenue.
So in all fairness, before December 15th, to ask to do that amendment for Young, I might be,
Yeah, I think,
That's
that's a
completely fair.
critical piece of information.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
100%.
you have until, like, the 1st of April to submit for funding from MDOT to fix that problem.
yeah, so you have a longer timeline. So the Horse Island Bridge, we want to prioritize
Okay.
for all the reasons discussed, but
Yeah,
yes,
so-
we want to take a look at the Young Street Bridge as well, in context, and to your point, the timelines are.
Yeah, so, and I believe it was in the memo, but you have some time to do that, so,
We appreciate that.
okay,
Okay, good. We have longer than December 15th for that one.
that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Good push, Councilwoman LaPointe. Council, any other discussion? All right, well, that will then close the discussion we had slated for this evening. Philip, thank you so much again for your partnership and the information. To the members of the community, I hope you, as you're listening and digesting the information, are reassured that we have data-informed decision pathways with experts with longstanding experience that are advancing our understanding and helping us to inform our decision pathways, and we're going to do what's best for this community and ultimately the residents. And so With that being said, we're being very mindful of the taxpayer funds in that pathway, how that relates to the grant dollars we have currently secured. And just, Philip, thank you again for all your work and all the work of your team that's been a part of that. Thank you. With that being said, as promised, members of public, we want to turn it back over to you. So this will open our public comment session. So members in attendance, please approach that mic and state your name and address and make sure it's still green for me.
Philip Colson, 30631 Island Drive. I'm for saving that bridge pretty much the way it is, one-lane bridge, because basically Island Drive is a one-lane street now. There's so much traffic on this with construction trucks, and some of the drivers have to pull off on people's lawns just to get by. So there'd be no point in widening the bridge. The angles and everything look good, but I think this gentleman seems to have a good plan, and I'd like to see something like that go forward. That's just my opinion, so, thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Any additional members of public that would like to address council this evening? Hello.
Hi, Mary Ann Pertinen, 31022 Island Drive. I just wanted to know, what is the life expectancy for the bridge being fixed this way?
That's a great question. Philip, do you have any information you'd like to share in the?
Okay, we'll take that
Sorry,
then.
Philip, can you state that for the mic, just for folks that are listening in?
Yeah, the life expectancy for those kind of repairs would be 50 to 75 years.
Compared to if it was brand new?
You want to speak to kind of how you'd compare life cycles from new to rehabbed?
If we replaced everything, it'd be 100 years.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Great question. I see another member of public coming to the podium.
Charlene Colson, 30631 Island Drive. My question is, how long might we have to have that? How long might we have that grant available to us if, in fact, we were supposed to start it in October of '24?
Great question.
We have been, on basically a quarterly basis, talking with Keith Cooper from MDOT about this project. And Keith has said, as long as we're making progress, they've kept grants open like this for other communities, but they have to see that we're making progress. And a letter was sent late May from the city notifying them that, we were moving forward, that the city was not aware of some of the things, the environmental documentation was not made clearly, and that was due, well, ultimately, that's the city's responsibility. It was previous people were not aware and not communicating that thoroughly to the public and doing that process. And so now we're very much involved in that process. So we do need to show that we keep moving forward. And it probably wouldn't hurt to re-meet with them again, but they're very much aware. I think I've talked to Keith 15 times in the last year, so he knows, because I don't want to get the call that, well, it's gone. Because then I don't want to have to come back here and say that. So
We appreciate Philip tremendously and all those that have played a role in the
yes,
communication
a lot
with
of
MDOT.
folks have played a role in talking with him, but it's not that they're used to it, but they understand it. And because we've been involving a lot of folks and keeping the communication open, they understand that the city is actively really wants to solve this problem.
Yeah,
So, yes.
and I think, just to build on that, we want to make this an immediate priority for this evening's discussion, and obviously the subsequent action by council on the 15th to make sure we can directionally move this further. Great question. I love these comments. Any other comments from public?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to give a little update of what was happening in 1990.
Yeah.
The steel mill on Jefferson just took a 10-year slide, went bankrupt. That was 50% of the city's money at the time, and about 30% of the town lost their jobs, lost their pension. So the city did the best they could with the money they had, but the community was adamant, we don't want any additional costs to repair the bridge. So it was intentional, it didn't have all the extra inches on it, but the city went from $1.5 million to $1 million budget, and it was broke, so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're talking about the Young Bridge discussion, correct?
Okay.
Any,
bridge is the worst shape?
So it sounds like city.
we have another public comment that was asking which bridge is in worse shape. Philip, I know you're the master of bridge inspections. Do you want to comment on that for us?
Before he sat down.
Yeah.
The 1932 or 34 bridge that's there by the BP, so on, where Gibraltar comes,
Yeah, we've
Then that one-
prioritized that one based on bridge inspection reports. Repeatedly, we've been begging for funding from a broader official perspective. It's been on our priority list, so yes, you are accurate, and that's one that
And-
definitely needs work.
and when I went into the archives and looked up, was looking for stuff on Horse Island, I saw that picture of that bridge from 1933 when it was built, and the water was this far below it. So unfortunately, the water has risen up, and that's not helping it either.
Which bridge is in worse shape, the Horse Island Bridge or the one going to Edmond Island?
Horse Island doesn't have any alternative if something happens. You do have alternative routes if something would happen to that bridge. So the Horse Island, in my mind, because there's no redundancy, if that bridge goes down, you're going to have to hurry to try and get,
Edmond Island, the same way. One way on, one way off.
which one is that?
Young Street,
Yeah, but Young's is
Edmond Island Bridge.
two-thirds of the load capacity, so it's in a much more robust shape.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Philip. Any additional members of the public that wish to address council? All right, well, this has been great timing and a great discussion, more importantly, because I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this study session, and we will be back for our council meeting in 5 minutes. Thank you all.
Stop. Yeah, it is.